Every small town has a story, a strange light that nobody can explain, a creature locals swear they saw, a sound that's been echoing for generations. These stories are often dismissed as legends, but some are backed up by years of reports, police files, and even photographs. And here's the thing. Historians still can't explain them. People say the first time you see them, your brain refuses to accept what's happening. Out on the ridge of Brown Mountain, glowing balls of light float silently above the trees, flickering like lanterns before fading into thin air. And they've been appearing for over a century. The Brown Mountain lights have been reported since at least 1913, when locals first wrote to newspapers describing strange, hovering orbs that appeared on clear nights. Even the US government got involved. In 1922, the US Geological Survey sent investigators to explain the phenomenon as reflections of car headlights. But there was one big problem with that theory. There were no cars in the area when reports began. Scientists have since blamed everything from swamp gas to mirages, but hikers and residents swear the lights move with intention. They don't flicker like random gas. They hover, they split, they merge. And no one has captured what causes them. Even modern equipment hasn't cracked the mystery. Imagine a creature with wings so big it could block out the moonlight. That's what terrified the people of Van Meter in 1903. For 5 straight nights, witnesses claimed to see a half-man, half-bat creature flying over rooftops. It was described as having a glowing horn on its head and leaving behind a stench like rotten eggs. Local businessmen and police officers actually fired guns at the creature, but bullets didn't seem to affect it. The story ends in the strangest way. Witnesses claim the creature disappeared into an abandoned mine shaft outside of town, and then nothing. The sightings completely stopped. Newspapers covered the panic, and the people who reported it were respected members of the community. To this day, historians can't explain what they saw. Was it mass hysteria, a misidentified animal, or something no one's identified yet? If you ever find yourself on a dark stretch of Spook Light Road near the small town of Hornet, you might see a light slowly floating toward you. People call it Hornet Spook Light. It's one of the most famous ghost lights in America. First reported in the 1880s, this bright, glowing orb moves down a rural road and often disappears the moment you try to approach it. Drivers have chased it for miles only to have it vanish inches in front of them. Theories range from swamp gas to reflections from distant headlights, but here is the thing. The phenomenon started decades before cars existed in the region. Even military teams studied the light during World War II, and they didn't find a thing. The Hornet Spook Light is still seen regularly today, and no one has ever provided a proven explanation. It's just after midnight. A driver slows down when they see a young woman walking alone on the side of the road. She looks cold, frightened. They offer her a ride. She climbs in, and before they reach town, she vanishes from the seat beside them. This is the terrifying legend of the Uniontown Hitchhiker. Starting in the 1930s, drivers around Uniontown began reporting nearly identical encounters. A woman in a white dress would appear along a rural road near a cemetery. She'd ask for a ride home and then disappear. Police investigated the reports repeatedly, but they were never able to identify the women or find any evidence of a crime. Some locals claim she's the ghost of a woman who died in a car crash. Others think it's a shared hallucination, but dozens of sightings over decades remain unexplained. People call it the village the devil cursed. Hidden deep in the woods of Cornwall lies the abandoned settlement known as Dudleytown. Founded in the 1740s, it was once home to farmers and families, but then strange things began happening. Residents reported mysterious illnesses, disappearances, and sudden bouts of madness. Within a few decades, the town was completely abandoned. What remains today is overgrown forest and scattered stone foundations. Local lore blames a curse brought by the Dudley family from England, supposedly connected to witchcraft trials. But historians can't find solid evidence to prove or disprove the curse. Visitors claim to hear whispers in the woods, see shadow figures, and feel intense dread. The area is now off limits to the public, and while historians agree the town was real, they still don't know why everything there fell apart so violently. In a remote Arctic community of Nunavut, there's a chilling story that refuses to fade. Locals speak of a figure known as the Ice Woman. For decades, hunters and travelers have claimed to see a tall woman with long black hair walking barefoot across the frozen fjord. The strangest part is what happens after. People say she leaves no footprints in the snow and seems to glide above the ice. In some cases, entire groups have reported seeing her at the same time, only for the figure to vanish when approached. This isn't a modern internet story. Accounts date back to the 1930s, recorded in oral histories and later in regional archives. Some elders believe she's the spirit of someone lost to the ice. Others think it's something older. Despite multiple investigations, no one has found evidence to explain the figure. She remains one of the most unsettling legends in northern Canada. It was a cold night in April 1977 when Bill Bartlett saw something that changed his life forever. Driving through Dover, he noticed a small, pale creature crawling along a stone wall. It had a huge head, glowing orange eyes, and spindly fingers gripping the rocks. He wasn't the only one. 2 other teens reported the same thing on separate nights in the same area. Police searched the woods, but they found nothing. Scientists suggested a baby moose or a hairless animal, but the descriptions didn't match. The creature was dubbed the Dover Demon. Unlike other urban legends, the case is well documented. There were sketches, witness statements, and even lie detector tests. Historians and cryptozoologists have studied the report for years, and to this day, no one knows what those teens actually saw. In 1897, contractors renovating an old boarding house in Paris, Texas, made a shocking discovery. Behind a brick wall in the basement, they found a perfectly seated skeleton dressed in 19th century clothing. What makes this story legendary is what was found next. A pipe was still positioned near the skeleton's mouth, as if the man had been calmly smoking when he was sealed away. No signs of struggle, no coffin, and no clear identity. Local newspapers at the time ran wild with theories. Some thought it was a tenant who had their lives taken. Others believed it was part of a secret society ritual. Even historians who later reviewed the case couldn't find conclusive records of who the man was or how he got there. To this day, locals claim the house is cursed and that no one who's lived there has stayed for long. The mystery of the skeleton remains unsolved. It started with a panicked phone call to police on a hot August night in 1955. A family in rural Hopkinsville claimed they were under siege. They said small glowing creatures with large ears and clawed hands surrounded their farmhouse, peering through the windows and climbing onto the roof. Gunfire did nothing to scare them away, and the encounter lasted hours. When police arrived, they found bullet holes, spent shells, and terrified witnesses. What they didn't find was any evidence of creatures. But these weren't just anyone making claims. There were over a dozen witnesses, including adults who were not known to be superstitious. Theories have ranged from owls to aliens, but no conclusive explanation has ever been found. The Hopkinsville Goblins remains one of the most famous unexplained small-town legends in American history. On calm nights in Chaleur Bay, between New Brunswick and Quebec, fishermen claim to see a ship engulfed in bright flames, silently gliding across the water. The legend goes back over 200 years. Witnesses describe it as a full-rigged sailing vessel burning from mast to hull, yet never sinking or making a sound. The earliest reports date to the 1700s, and sightings continue to this day. Historians have searched shipwreck records and weather logs, but nothing perfectly matches the reports. Some believe it's the ghost of a privateer ship that caught fire during battle. Others think it's a natural phenomenon caused by glowing gases over the water. No one has ever proven what it is, but entire fishing communities have sworn they've seen the burning ghost ship with their own eyes. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.